Hi, I'm here with Jon Risinger, host of On the Spot and occasional host of The No, and also apparently one of the best designers that Rooster Teeth has ever birthed, according to Bernie Burns.
Oh, that's so nice of him to say that. I appreciate that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
How's your RTX experience been so far?
My RTX experience is fantastic. I look forward to RTX every single year. It's a fantastic experience.
Do you ever get like any weird fans that see you as a sex symbol? And how do you kind of deal with that approach?
Oddly enough, yes. I hope that doesn't sound egotistical to say yes to that. Literally today, had one gentleman, was very nice, had me sign something at our signing, and then asked for a hug. Totally normal thing. I love giving hugs. And then, following asking for a hug, asked if he could touch my hair. Which I was like, all right, we're stepping towards some oddities, which is, it's still like, the people just kind of have odd requests.
Well, it's such a magnificent mane, you see. That's
I think I've kind of called that upon myself. But yeah, it happens sometimes. I don't think it's something I'm very comfortable with or used to. Not like it makes me like mad about it, but it's not something that I was the typical, I didn't date in high school at all.
But
so
you date now, though, right?
I date now.
Well,
and
there you
so,
go.
but like my entire upbringing and like where you like the foundation of like what you are as a sexual creature, I was just basically a rock.
Oh, good, like an amoeba.
Yeah, I was just
wonderful.
just single cell organism, just trying to get through high school without total embarrassment.
I think that's the aim for everyone.
Yeah.
That's just, can I just survive this
all.
hellhole?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, speaking of survival of hellholes, how being in charge of On the Spot, there are some truly spectacular moments that I cannot stress enough how delightful they are. And maybe I should start with the greatest shit show of all time, having the Funhouse and Couch Up crew on. How was that? Because it looked for a while like you had been so derailed at this point that you were kind of just like, do you know what? Someone else just sit here. It's fine.
Yeah, it was. Funhouse has obviously tested the boundaries of what can happen on the Spot before. I'd never had Couch Up on the show before. I'd had some light interaction with Couch Up. Alex and I had met at like PAX South before and got to hang out. Really enjoyed Alex. Hadn't met with any of them else. The funny enough, I feel like actually Funhouse, up until the very end of the episode, was actually one that was causing more destruction. That Couch Up was actually there just to make jokes and everything like that. But then the destruction of the Golden Gus was close to a tipping point of my sanity. It just was the most I couldn't predict that was going to happen, and I had. You can go back and watch the episode. I have no reaction other than that happened. That's all I could say. But it was all fine, and our production team's very nice and made a whole new base and everything for it. So yes, that was a peak in the show for sure.
And am I right in thinking that you joined Rooster Teeth through designing things for them? Is that right?
Yeah. I had not at all joined Rooster Teeth to be on screen or anything like that. Obviously, because I joined so early, I knew there was a high possibility. Back in the day when there was only about 30 of us, almost everybody showed up on screen at some point. Not everybody got a show, but yeah, I've worked in like what I consider the real world a long time before Rooster Teeth. I'm old, and
how old are you?
I'm 32.
That's not old.
I'm older.
Jeff Ramsey came on and was like, I'm nearly 50.
Yeah.
I want to die. Everyone else is running around.
It's all in perspective. I'm like the middle generation of Rooster Teeth, where I'm old enough where I have like kids and I've had a marriage and a divorce and all that kind of stuff. So I've lived a life and I've had over 10 years of career experience outside of Rooster Teeth. A lot of these people like Blaine and Chris over here, they kind of jumped in from college into Rooster Teeth. I was out there doing design for corporate companies and I was doing fan art for Rooster Teeth and they liked it. In fact, I was wrongfully trying to sell some of it, and they were nice enough to say, prefer if you don't sell it, we'd like to buy some of your designs. And so I was like, cool, I'll trade you a design for an interview. And that's how it happened.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And then you went to was the No your first on-screen appearance?
No. It was probably my first reoccurring appearance. But I was good friends with Achievement Hunter, and I kept popping up in the background of their videos. I kind of had some minor little spots in the podcast and RT Lifes. But yeah, I guess the No would be, back when it was RT News, I was one of the first people who was like, they said, we'd love to have readers. And I was like, I'd love to be a reader. That sounds enjoyable.
Oh, nice. And then you got On the Spot, which I'm assuming you pitched and they were like, yes.
Yeah, they wanted to do a game show. They were trying to fill in at the time very sparse broadcast schedule. They wanted to do a game show. In fact, they had already had a game show made and were just auditioning presenters. And I auditioned to be a presenter. And literally the game show was literally just a trivia game show. And I did a screen test with myself asking Blaine and Barbara questions. The audition went terrible, and the show was terrible as well. So luckily, even though my audition was terrible, because they scrapped the entire project and then asked the company if anybody has ideas to pitch them, that gave me the opportunity to create on the spot, work with Patrick Salazar, who runs the broadcast department, and pitch that and made that from there. So I ruined a first chance, but then I was like, I'll just make a new opportunity.
Has there ever been a moment on the spot where you couldn't make the final cut? Or does all the sort of crass and chaos
yeah, I mean, it's part of the fun and the danger of the show in that I can't stress this enough. The show is live. The show is unscripted. We will sometimes show some people parts of prompts that are going to come up, or at least we'll explain how games work. No part of the show, we are improv hard mode. Even old improv shows like Whose Line Is It Anyway, and even current ones like At Midnight, there's writing and there's editing. At the very least, there's editing. We, at the very least, for our first members, we stream live. You watch it with first members, you see everything that happens. So that happens. That's the first layer of you can see everything.
Right.
And then Bernie has said this himself, that all of our broadcast shows, we have this unwritten rule that at any time when the show's over, if anybody who's on the show or anybody who's making the show doesn't want something to be in the final cut, they have the total right to do that. Because we'll in the moment, especially on the spot in the chaos of a show like that, things will be said, or we'll bring up topics that people don't want to be put out there. And on occasion, people have cut things. Oddly enough, I think out of 102 episodes, we have edited less than a handful. We've had a couple times where things have gone overboard with some stuff, and we kind of cut down how much overboard it went, just to make, and that's mostly just to make it still entertaining, because sometimes it just can even not be funny anymore, and there's no point in putting out that kind of a content. Sometimes we say things that people don't want public.
Right.
And then sometimes even oddly enough, we had an episode we filmed this week where my friend Andy managed to legitimately almost choke on the show. He took a bite out of a hamburger we had, and he made the sound a human makes when they're not breathing, and they're legitimately straining. We were scared for a moment. He then was able to move it and had a beer in his hand that got some liquid down and was able to cough it out. But that was a very real scary moment where
Jesus.
Andy was we were all thinking we're going to have to knock something out of him. So in the final edit, we optioned to cut that moment down a little bit so it just wasn't a very long, tense, unfunny moment in the middle of an improv comedy show.
Right.
But other than that, we actually don't cut it down very much. That episode you talked about with Couch Up and them, we didn't really cut very much. I don't know if we cut anything from that episode. Because we're, like I said, we're over 100 episodes. I try to retain the integrity of the original intent of the show, which was a live improv comedy show. It's hard, though.
Do you have any future plans for another show, or are you quite very much busy with On the Spot?
On the Spot keeps me busy, and like you mentioned, I am one of the designers of the company. In fact, I basically at this point, I co-lead with Tony Simonetta, our design department. Tony focuses a lot on our merch. I focus a lot on our branding. We both are completely in conjunction with everything. I've been doing merch for the company for over 4 years now, so there's no real point in completely zoning me out of that. And all of our designers that work for us, they are familiar with me, and so we kind of collaborate on that kind of thing. That keeps me very busy. We did try out a movie podcast on the Rooster Teeth site called Enjoy the Show. Unfortunately, the Rooster Teeth audience didn't really like it very much. It just wasn't. I think we were learning that there's certain content that people don't want to go to the Rooster Teeth site to see. There's things, and I totally understand that. I'm a YouTube watcher myself, and when I watch channels and they start putting out content that I don't associate with that YouTube channel, you can't force me to watch it. I'm not going to watch it. We, however, did try it out on the No channel, and that was welcomed a lot more because it felt a little bit more in line. Right? Yeah. And so we're going to Enjoy the Show. We'll come back. I like writing and making shows, so I do want to make a show. In fact, Bernie a while back had said, what's your next show you have in mind? And I had started coming up with some ideas, but that actually turned into what can we do to revamp On the Spot, which we've done this season so far, adding a bunch of new things. So that's also fun. On the Spot's a show where we can continue to add new elements and write new games, and so On the Spot fills up my time a lot.
Is there any guests from the spot that you are hoping to get for the next season?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for new guests. I'm hoping that the more Rooster Teeth gets more and more friends from the YouTube community. Being a YouTube fan myself, I definitely want more of these guys to come and hang out with us. I mean, there's plenty of people that we've kind of rubbed shoulders with that I would love to get out there. The hardest thing is getting people to be able to take time to come out to Austin. As you know, YouTubers are very busy people, and especially if they're daily content creators, it's hard for them to take an entire day or two away from their stuff. But yeah, I would love to get like any of the guys like the Vlog Brothers or Rhett and Link or any.
I think Rhett and Link would be really
I think Rhett and Link are a great fit for the show. I even made a tweet the other day about Glove and Boots, the puppet YouTube channel. I would love to have them on. I've talked with Griffin McElroy and the McElroy brothers and would love to have them on and that kind of thing. It's more so just like figuring out schedule and figuring out a time to get them to be able to come down and do that kind of stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I thoroughly appreciate everything we talked about.
That was fun.
Before we started rolling, we had a discussion. We were going to try and hit any taboo subjects. And
I just don't know what's taboo with me anymore. I mean, we say and do everything possible. Like, literally, I have a show where censorship died for the most part, so I don't really know. I'd really love to figure out something that's taboo for me to talk about.
I feel like the awkward and obvious answer would probably be something along the lines of like divorcing kids.
I'm so open about that.
Really?
Though. Yeah. It's definitely something like, yeah.
Have you been caught having sex before?
Like by someone else that was not part of the party?
Yeah.
No.
Although, congratulations on confirming that there was more than one person involved at some point. Jon Risinger's had a threesome.
Yeah, let's just spread that around. No, I've actually never even been walked in on masturbating. I have actually.
You haven't lived, Jon.
I don't.
You're such a sheltered.
Maybe I just need to.
Man.
Do I need to be more open with my masturbation plans? I just need to be more about it.
If you head down to Austin later, you'll see Jon just stood over the river bridge, just cracking one out into it.
It might happen. I gotta live. No, I haven't.
Amazing. Well, what a note to end on.
There you go.
What a beautiful note.
Yeah, be sure to keep that all in there.